everyone. I hope you're having a lovely week. It has been nice out here in North Carolina. We finally started getting that fall weather that we all love. A little cool in the morning, you can see your breath. Nice and cool at night. A little warm during the day. It's got to the 70s, sometimes up to the 80s, which isn't bad in mid-October. What is it, the 22nd today? Mid-October, not bad. The grass is loving it. I had to reseed again. Trying to grow grass that isn't Bermuda in North Carolina is a full-time job. I don't know if anybody out there is a lawn dad, but it is. We're growing tall fescue, have for many years, and some years are great, and I am thrilled to have a beautiful lawn. Some years, like this year, it just gets so hot in the summer, and we did not get much relief from rain. So we had some really bad patchy areas. So I had to do a lot of raking, a lot of overseeding, and replanting, which sucks. But that is life in the South, I guess, border of the South. North Carolina is on that border where we're kind of not a warm season grass. We're not really a cold season grass. It's a very strange climate. Most of my neighbors have Bermuda or Zoysia, which, if you're interested in that, you've come to the wrong show. This isn't lawn talk. But if you are interested in lawns, we can always chat. Just text me. Anyway, beautiful out here, though. Absolutely loving the weather. Got to skate a couple of times, which is refreshing to me. And then obviously we had the skate release this week. Couldn't be happier with the response. Shops are loving it. Skaters are loving it. I am relieved. There is nothing more stressful than putting all of your money, starting production. I mean, we're at a point now where we've got, production wrapping up, which is the goal always, right? We want to have pre-orders as short as possible. So we're like 3 weeks away from production being done, which is great. But so much stress. So it is a huge relief that people actually love what we're doing. I will get into all of that later today. Looks like the stream is looking good. Obviously, any questions, tag back to blading if you've got them. Should be a quick show. I'm not going to go into too many of your questions and stuff like that. I feel like people are here for one reason. They want to know what the hell is going on with the new Omnis, what's going on with the new anti-rocker frames, how did I get so good looking. All of those questions will be answered momentarily. I hope that everybody is buckling in, has a nice drink, beverage, whatever your pleasure, and yeah, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to Gear Talk episode 140. Gear Talk is the show that I do every other week-ish, where we talk about the geekier side of rollerblading. If you know the difference between a them skates, a faction skate, a T-neck, and an Omni, and you know that these are the skater-made companies that own our own molds, that are making stuff for the community, that are building the blading world, and you love that, then you've come to the right place. Gear Talk is a show where we break down the weird stuff about rollerblading. We talk about the geekier side of rollerblading. We talk about frame lengths. We talk about wheel durometers. We talk about different splits for middle wheels and what sort of groove you need in order to grind which ledge. It is a very nerdy podcast slash video live stream. If that's the sort of thing that you're interested in, then you've come to the right place. We do this every other or so Wednesday, live on YouTube. It is still my channel of choice, though. I gotta say, I spend more time on Instagram than YouTube nowadays. I feel like content like this kind of lends itself to YouTube. A lot of people, I get really nerdy into business podcasts, and I know that most people now consume podcasts in video form, which is crazy to me. But video has really taken over, and YouTube is by far the #1 place where people get podcasts. Now, it wouldn't be what I would call a podcast. I still consider a podcast an audio medium, but I've been doing that for 20 years, or it almost is 20 years, 15 years or so. Podcasting to me is a very specific bucket of audio delivered to a mobile device, typically, and then you're listening kind of like a radio. But very different nowadays. Video has taken over. which makes sense. I myself love sitting back watching long form videos. I was just watching a long documentary about the history of Street Fighter 2. Actually, just Street Fighter, I guess. But obviously, the biggest chapter is on Street Fighter 2. I just wrapped up that chapter. I had no idea how many versions of Street Fighter 2 there were. So I was very much the initial Street Fighter 2 first edition, World Warrior, and then, you know, Champion Edition, maybe a little bit of Turbo, but that's kind of when I dipped out. All of the different Street Fighter 2s that came after it were very new to me. So watching a documentary on that was fascinating, all the alpha stuff and all the Super Street Fighter and then Street Fighter 3 and all that. If you're interested, really great show. And then it goes back into the history of it. But point being, I love watching long videos like that because I can just sit back, let somebody talk kind of like a podcast, but then there's a little bit of video. So I can look at the person talking, or I can look at some visuals that they put up there. I feel like it is a really good use of the medium. And again, YouTube is perfect for that. How did I get here? YouTube is perfect for that. Even though on my day-to-day, I probably spend more time on Instagram. And I would imagine most of you do as well. But we're still doing this live on YouTube every other Wednesday, usually at around 9 p.m. That gives me time to wrap up at home, get on over to the warehouse, set up for the show. It does take a little bit of time to set up. This isn't always a clean room. If you've ever been here during open house, you know things can get a little cluttered in the office. That's the way that it usually is. But I clean it out so that I can do gear talk. Love talking about geeky stuff. Throughout the show, if you ever have any questions, make sure that you tag Back to Blading. That way I can see it in the chat. We do this live on YouTube. So there is a live chat if you wanted to get involved in the discussion. Just leave a comment, tag Back to Blading so that I can see it. Shows up with a little orange box around it. That way I can see it. If you're watching this in the future, please feel free to leave a comment in the video itself. Always read my comments. Try to answer as many questions as I can. If I look at it, I'll definitely thumbs up so that you know that I've seen it. But love seeing your comments, good or bad. Any feedback is appreciated. And questions are definitely important if you have any questions. I'm a pretty good guy to ask. If I don't know, I will point you in the right direction so that you can find the answers that you're looking for. You can also go to backtoblading.com, do a search in backtoblading.com and see if there's a podcast reference. Ben Vanderhagen and I have done 100 or so podcasts. We've talked about almost everything there is to talk about with rollerblading. And if it was a topic that you might, be curious, whatever happened to the Rossi's Cootie or whatever happened to the Fila, what was the Fila called? I can't remember. Krusty, is that what it was? I don't even remember anymore. I wrote it down, so everything is searchable there, so you'd be able to find it and you'd be able to listen to a podcast where we talk about it. That way I don't have to remember anything because I wrote it down. Before we get started, I always like to thank our friends over at the Helmet Initiative. They are a great organization that tries to get more helmets on people's heads. What we do, rollerblading, action sports in general, can be dangerous. And it doesn't matter how good you are, the off chance that you slip, fall, hit your head is pretty high. If you go to a skate park, there are transitions. The coping could be sticky. It could be faster than you were expecting. There could be a runaway board that comes flying and knocks you off of your feet. I've seen it happen. It sucks. I don't want anybody to end up in the hospital. If you hit your head, there is a chance that you will. If you hit your head with a helmet on, it's a lower chance that you will end up in the hospital. So I always wear my helmet when I go skating. It is the least amount of insurance that I can take out. Helmets are about $50. I know that times are a little tough right now. Economy is a little weird. This whole healthcare thing is a little scary. If you need a helmet, go to backtoblading.com/helmet. Backtoblading.com/helmet. Fill out your information and let me know that you need a helmet. I will be giving away a helmet for every episode of Gear Talk. If you are in the US, we will reach out to you. We will find your size and I will mail you a helmet. If you're outside of the US, I will get your PayPal, I will get your Venmo, I will get some way to send you money, and I will send you cash. That is cheaper for me than trying to ship a helmet overseas and then you having to pay customs, and then Lord knows what the tariffs are like right now. I don't even want to have to think about it. I'll just send you cash. It will go over there digitally. you will have the money, and you can buy a helmet from a local shop. That is a great solution to this issue. If there are any people out there who want to help us with the helmet giveaway, go to patreon.com/backtoblading. That is where we have a Patreon account, kind of like a donation account. A couple bucks a month, it all goes into the pool, and then we're able to spend money so that we can get more helmets on people's heads. It helps with the shipping costs. It helps with, if there's any duties or anything like that I can clear. It hasn't happened in a long time, but all of the money that I use to keep things going over here, that comes from that Patreon account. And Mr. Jeff Metz, as I see in the chat, just donated $50 so that we can give away 2 helmets tonight. So Jeff has been a great supporter of the show for a long time. Always likes to sneak in and donate some money so that we can give away helmets. Jeff is a good helmet wearer. He and I wear our helmets together when we go rollerblading. Sounds silly when I say it out loud. But thank you, Jeff, for donating. Again, 2 helmets tonight because of the gracious Jeff Metz. If you are interested in a helmet, backtoblading.com/helmet is the place to go. Put in your information. I'll take 2 people at random at the end of the show, and I will get in contact with you, and I will find your size, and I will send you a helmet, or I will get your email address and get your PayPal and send you a helmet, so that nobody out there who wants a helmet will be unable to wear a helmet because they can't afford one. We want to take that off the equation, get you a helmet so that you can be safe when you're out there skating. All right, let's see. Let's talk a little bit about my current setup. So I've actually been skating. So it's funny that I have to say that. But I've been struggling with back injuries for a while now. I've been doing a lot of exercising. I've been getting my 10,000 steps a day. I did the video showing the techniques that I use now for strengthening my core and enabling my core when I'm doing grinds, when I'm doing skating, when I'm doing any airs. It seems to be working. I did hurt my back a couple weeks ago, but that was working in the yard, lifting something that I shouldn't have. It is a situation where I should have followed my own advice and tightened my core when I was lifting. I don't know what I was lifting. It might have been a bag full of weeds or something like that. It's probably something that I would do. But I should tighten my core when I lift things, and I didn't. I do need to do more core exercises to get myself in shape. But it is working. I've not hurt myself skating. A little timid when I'm skating, but I have not hurt myself skating since I've started this routine. So that is a great direction. I was able to go out and skate twice since my last episode of Gear Talk. First, I went and they were having a wheels event in downtown Durham. So near City Park, Central Park, which is right down the hill from the skate park. They were having a like a fair where there were booths, there were food trucks, there were ramps and stuff that you could skate. Skateboards, BMX, rollerblades, scooters, and quads were all represented. Obviously, I showed up in my skates. I was on my big wheel setup. So this is my Omni V2s with my compass frames. These are 72 millimeter compass frames with the 80 millimeter synthwave wheels. They are a beautiful purple wheel, really pop when you're out there skating. I got some purple laces too, so that I was fully fitted when I went out there and hit the streets. This is a really fun setup. I absolutely love the feeling of 85A wheels. I skate so much hard wheel that going out there and doing something soft was really nice. I just kind of cruised around, You forget doing aggressive. All I think about is grinds. All I think about is airs and, transitions and mini and stuff like that. You forget how much fun it is to just go out there and skate. And I found that this was a really good setup for skating. Did rock the Intuition Premiums. They are a little tight in the Omni V2, if I'm going to be honest. I don't know what it is about this liner, but it feels like there's a little bit of padding in places that I don't need it. And my toes get a little tight towards the front. I'm not sure if it's just thicker in some spaces that it doesn't need to be. I don't have this problem with the comfort liners, the stock liners for the Omni. Those liners are built for the shell. This liner is not built for any shell. It's just built for feet. So maybe it doesn't fit this liner perfectly. Maybe I need to get an 11 instead of a 10, 10.5 liner. But it worked. It wasn't the most comfortable ride, but maybe it wasn't designed for that. It would probably work better on a big wheel setup. I have skated these Intuitions in, what was it in? Was it my Next maybe? Probably was in my Next. And yeah, I enjoyed that setup. Not so much in the V2s again. I'm not an Intuition guy, so maybe that's just me not being used to it, but it wasn't the best ride for me. But cruising around, you know, any day skating is a better day than sitting at home. I had a really good time. There were probably a dozen rollerbladers there, which was great. Even skaters that I had never met, which kind of lets me think that the community is much bigger than I realize. Hope to do more big wheel events. So they go out every Monday and they do a ride around downtown Durham. I would love to do that more often. It's hard when the kids are in school. Kid is in school. My older kid is in college now, so I don't have much to do with her. Unfortunately, not on a day-to-day, but my youngest, reminding her to get to bed on time definitely is a full-time job. And if I'm unable to do it, she probably won't until I get home. So going out skating at night, a little difficult, but I do hope to get out there maybe when the summer starts. But yeah, great setup for that. Absolutely enjoyed it. Then a little secret that I can share. It's still not ready yet. Oops, I will do it later because I can't get the Intuition straps on. A little secret that I can share. So I was on my Yandi Omni V2s. Oops, they're stuck on my Next. Oh, there we go. I was on my Yandi V2s. So this is my new Yandi setup. It's the V2 with the black soles, the Yandi 50/50 frames. I'm riding 58mm 90A wheels. These are some sample wheels that we were testing the new 90A. It is the 58 rounded 58. If you will look at these wheels though, you will see that there's like dust and like sawdust on them. We have been busy. So if you've been to the warehouse, you know that there is a big mini, you've probably seen a live stream. You know, there's a small, not big, small mini ramp in the warehouse. This is a 20-foot wide warehouse, about 20 foot by 20 foot. So it's like 20 foot long, 20 foot wide. It is a lot of fun for grinds, doing coping grinds. It is a 3-foot tall transition with 6-foot transitions, I think. 3-foot tall, 6-foot transitions. It's got like 5 feet of flat, so it's a fairly quick mini ramp, but it is so much fun. Then what I do is I use the flat. So if you're grinding this way, I'll turn the opposite way and I'll go the long way across the flat, and I put quarter pipes at each end. And I set up a grind box in the middle, and I will just pump in and use it as like a long quarter pipe, long mini ramp with 2 quarter pipes at each end and then a grind box in the middle. I'll just drop in and grind and then come up and come back and grind and come up. It's a lot of fun. That's kind of like my cardio, how I get my workout. We have rented a new storage locker. So the locker back here is the warehouse, I guess, is 20 feet wide by like 30 feet in the back. Total of 1,000 square feet because I have the office and the showroom and everything and the bathroom. We have a storage locker that is 15 by 30. And we just finished building, still like 10% of work left, but we just finished building this beautiful new spot. Look at that. So this is the new spot that we're building in the back. There's another angle. I've always wanted a little skate park. So this is from the top. You can see at the landing, you can get a nice little quarter pipe at the end. I've always wanted a little spot that I could just skate bower boxes, coping boxes, just skate them down and then just roll away. We've tried building it here in the warehouse a couple of times, and The dimensions are difficult. Having to build the platform and then having to build the spot, it takes up a lot of room. This space is perfect for that. So there are 2 boxes, one on each side, with coping. It is about a 10-foot wide gap between those 2 boxes. So we have enough room that I took my little sub rosa rail and we mounted the sub rosa rail in the middle. The feet of the sub rosa are underneath the decking, so the sheets. So you have the little spot that sticks up, so you can unscrew, unbolt the rail and remove it if you wanted to. And we could also make it taller. So if we wanted to swap it out with a taller raised section, then we could do that. But you could remove it if you wanted to, put it back on there. You're not going to run into the feet. That was the biggest problem with sub rosa. At the end, you've got about 3-4 feet of flat, and then a tight quarter pipe that goes up to coping, and it's about a 10-foot wide coping, 10-foot wide quarter pipe. We skated it a little bit. It's still not done, so nothing official being announced or shared yet, but we skated a little bit yesterday, and oh my goodness, it is going to be so much fun when it is fully done. The ledges are 10 feet long, so it is long enough that you're able to get set and actually ride the coping, right? It is an angle that's not too steep, so I likened it to when I was in the back having my little platforms with my Justin Thursday box. If you take an extra platform and you put the box on top, so you've got 2 legs over here and 1 leg over here, and you put it on, it's like that angle. So it is a very mellow incline, which for me is perfect because I'm not out there trying to win the X Games. I want to go out there and have fun. I want to jump on a ledge. I want to jump on coping and just slide. I want as much speed as I can give it. So I don't want to jump on and then, take off. And I don't want to have to crush at it so I can jump on and make it to the end, which, sometimes with a flat ledge, you kind of have to skate hard at it. This is at an angle enough that all you have to do is jump on and you will slide to the end. It is perfect. It is amazing what, so my friends Josh and Carlos built all of the ramps and stuff for me. It is amazing what they've been able to do in, I think, 3 days of work, I think, maybe 6 hours a day. They're going to come back in a couple of weeks and finish it up, and then I will do a video sharing all of the stuff and the build and all of that. But it will be available for people to come over and skate. We're going to start doing weekend open houses again, so you'll be able to skate the box, you'll be able to skate the little locker park, and then you'll be able to skate the mini ramp. Saturdays probably, especially when it starts getting cold here, it should stay warm there. So if it's cold out or if it's raining or snowing, it'll be a perfect opportunity for people to come by and still skate while you're in North Carolina. We don't have an indoor park. And rent here is so expensive. That storage locker was a steal for the very specific purpose. I don't have a ton of space, but I feel like we made the most of the space that we got. So very excited. I am skating these flat 5890 for a reason, trying to get as much bounce as I can, trying to get as much compression as I can, flat setup. Got the internal shock absorber, I've got the FP insoles, 90A, not too bad. 88s would be nice, but I couldn't find any 88 rounds. So 90A is fine. And yeah, there's a little bit of sawdust on there. It's not slippery enough yet, but a little bit of sawdust, you can see. Still need to clean over there. It's not quite done. We'll mop it down, but they're still doing sawing, so I haven't done all of that yet. Anyway, current aggressive setup in my current big wheel setup. All right. So, let's see. I don't know that I'm going to go through and do questions. I think I'll probably just jump to the main event. I feel like a lot of your questions will be answered in the discussion. So let me hold off on getting questions. If you had any questions during the chat, please let me know, and I will answer them at the end. That way, I'll be able to just address everything that was already done. I've kind of got a plan on how I want to talk about it, and I'm sure that the questions are going to kind of come in and out. But at the end, I will go back and answer anything that wasn't super clear, and give you a little bit of more information if you need it. about some of the stuff that we've been working on. But it has been a busy week. So on Monday, we announced the new Omni V3. So Standard is the skate company that I started 2.5 years ago, I guess. It is a skater-owned company, skater-made skates. So we have our own molds. We've invested in custom molding for the boots, for the sole plates, for the cuffs, for the frames, for the axles, for the heel pads, for fittings, for a ton of stuff. We've invested a lot into making a skate the way that we've always wanted a skate to be. And this is something that, hasn't really been done before. John Julio kind of was the first to do it. I guess technically there were a few people. Peter at Adapt had done it, and back in the days, Kato had done it with Remedies. And there have been a few people. I did a video talking about skater-made stuff a couple weeks ago where like Brian Shima started, NIM and this SSM where they were repurposing open molds but brought their own sole plates. So those are all definitely things that were done. As far as a plastic shell goes, though, I think John owns that title as the first completely skater-owned, skater-made molds and skate. And I've known John for 30 years now. Always impressed with the moves that he makes. The guy is never stopping. He's just always moving, always doing something new. Always difficult to figure out what his next move is going to be. We will be out in Blading Cup and an event that he's hosting out in Santa Ana in a couple of weeks. And it's incredible just to see how far he's brought them. And definitely an inspiration for me. I wanted to make my own skates since I was a kid. We'd always modified our skates to make them the way that we felt worked best for us. And with Standard, I could kind of start with a clean slate. Instead of having to take an existing skate and modify it to work for me, I could just take my ideas and put that into a skate. And that skate would then become a mold. And then I can modify little parts and make it better based on, as we skate it. How does it feel? How could it be better? What could be improved? Listening to skaters. And that has been a now third iteration of our skates. So the V3 is the third release. The first release was our initial launch. A lot of new ideas, all the new molds. Get these skates out there into the public and have people say, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. We go back to the labs and we work on V2. We made adjustments to the materials. We made adjustments to our processes to fit people better, to offer a little bit more flex. And then we bring it out to the masses and we say, here's what we have made. And then they say, this is good. Here's what you could improve. And we listen and we say, all right, we will keep making them better. And our plan with Standard is to continue iterating until everybody has everything that they want. No, not really. We will continue iterating until we are happy with the skates. We want to make it so that everybody can put a pair of Omnis on their feet and say, these are great skates. Maybe they're not the perfect skates for them. Skates are a very personal thing. Maybe you want something with a little bit more flex, maybe a little less flex. Maybe you want more forward lean. Maybe you want a tighter sole plate. There are so many different dimensions to what feet like that who am I to say what the perfect skate is for every person? But we are going to try to make the perfect skate for us. And with feedback, we can continue to make improvements to our skates to make them even better so that every time we release a skate, it's better than the last one. When I released the Omni V1, that was the best skate that I could make. And then I learned a lot. And then I said, okay, let's improve the liner. Let's improve the mold. Let's improve the fit. Let's make a new size. And then release another one. And now we're at V3. So V3's theme is finish. So we feel pretty good about addressing the fit. That was V2. We made a softer material that had a little bit more flex. So especially for aggressive skaters, you can get down on topside, you get down on royales. Most importantly, feet are all different. And with a stiffer boot, the form of the boot is fairly stiff. So it's not going to move. It's like kind of wearing a cast, you know? If your foot is perfect for that form, then you're gonna love the skates. And for me, my foot was perfect for the skates. And I just slid in, love the V1, still skate the V1 for big wheels. I should actually set up and reminisce maybe with the new heel pads. But I absolutely love the way that the V1s fit. I am a hockey player. I came from a hockey background. I was ice skating since I was about 11, I guess. And before coming back to aggressive in 2018, I had played ice hockey probably every weekend with very few missed weekends since I was 12. 30 years or so. Yeah, I guess 30 years. Jesus, makes me old. So I love a stiff skate. I love a responsive skate. Not everybody does. And I lucked out where my feet fit the molds perfectly. Not everybody did. So we made some changes, and we made V2 a little flexier. We made V2 a little bit more wide so that when you tightened your laces, it would suck your foot in. It would feel much better. And we got a resounding response from the customers out there, all the youth skaters saying, yeah, V2 feels great. Maybe it's not perfect for everybody, but V2 feels great. I could see why people like this skate. But there were always a lot of nitpicks, and I am a attention to detail sort of dude. I look at things and I'm like, you know what? It's not perfect. There are things that I could do better. There are little tweaks that I would like to make that are annoying. There's little splinters that it's like, if I had another month to make changes to things, this is what I would have done. And as we shipped V2, we had a list. And every time I would look at something, I would add it to the list. And every time we would get feedback from somebody, we would add it to the list. And that list got to a point where we had maybe, a couple dozen things that we wanted to fix. And we were like, all right, send it to the factory. We've got enough that we can justify modifying molds. Send it to the factory and let's make these little tweaks. So all of the molds, with the exception of the cuffs, yeah, we didn't modify the cuffs, but we modified the boots, every single boot. We modified every single sole plate. And we made some fit and finish modifications. So we tweaked things that weren't perfect. One example, so this is a V3 shell. So this is how they usually come for samples. When you see the skates on the walls or in the catalog websites, they usually have the paint, they usually have, final textures, and all of the colors are fully matched and stuff like that. This is usually how they come as samples. So when you see the team skating all black skates, it's typically because they are skating samples, testing some sort of a modification or whatever. No paint has been added. They usually have the date on them. So these were, September, I think. This is a medium skate, and you can see a few of the tweaks. First of all the bolts on the bottom, if it will zoom in, are fully countersunk now. Seems like a silly thing, right? They were supposed to be from the beginning, but they weren't. And what that did is it caused issues when people were mounting frames on the boots, and the little bolts would stick up. So when they tried to mount the frames, you screw them down, and you couldn't get them fully flush because these little bolts were hanging out just a little bit over it. Each of them are now fully countersunk on each size. So it'll be a completely clean installation. We have also made these sole plates completely flat. So if you had a ruler, which I don't have, you could put it on the side over here, and the side over here, and it would be a completely flat line from the back to the front of the sole plate. Why is that important? Well, if you are skating a flat frame and it is not aluminum, say a plastic frame, and the back is raised higher than the middle, you screw down your frame, bolt it down all the way, the frame has a tendency to follow the sole plate. So if it's flat, it might go a little bit like this, which means that a flat frame could turn into an anti-rocker frame. Even though you're skating all 58 millimeter wheels, the front and the back wheels could touch first. Now we knew that, right? I mean, I'm a hockey guy, right? I know what a flat setup should feel like. I know what a rocker setup should feel like. And during testing, during the initial V1 testing, we never had that problem. Fast forward to production, and they, at the factory, installed the sole plates a little too early. And when putting down these bolts, it pulled it down and it pushed out the outsides. So the outsides were flanged up because we do have a pad underneath the sole plate. The pad squished down, but the outside didn't have anything to squish, so it pulled it out a little bit. So we had to ask them to make changes for V2, and they made special jigs to make sure that they were completely flat. Now here's where translation can be a difficult thing sometimes with communication over email. When we asked for the sole plates to be flat, there was a miscommunication, and they had thought that this area was the area of concern, which it is an area of concern. This area should be flat, but they didn't realize that I was referring to this area. So they thought that it was the sole plate where you grind, but what I was referring to was this area where it is where the frame mounts. Yes, I could have communicated better. This is one of the problems with doing production overseas, not going to the factory and illustrating things in person. That is a thing that we need to get better at. It's taken a long time to get us there. But they have made a brand new jig. So the new jig flattens this frame mounting area as well as the sole area. They put it on there, they let it cure and harden before mounting it onto the boots. So the sole plates in V3, recessed bolts, completely flat mounting area, should be the best fitting frame sole plate that we've ever made. Flipping it into the inside. So this area, we actually made a few tweaks. If you remember V2, there were some initial launch where the back of the boot, the factory made it a little bit stiffer back here by raising the area the flaps connect at, so that when the cuff flexes forward, it resisted from flexing. So it reduced the forward flex by making the plastic a little bit taller. That's great, but the angle that they did it at was perfect to get stuck. So if you flexed too far forward like this, it would go all the way up and it would get stuck. Now it comes all the way back. So we made a modification there. It is still fairly stiff. It is as close to the top as we could get without getting stuck, but now it will not get stuck. The second modification, on the inside of the shells, there are these little flaps. So the cuff goes around and then the shell on the inside. There are these little flaps that lead up into the boot, into the cuff. So from the boot into the cuff. In V2, this ridge is fairly thick. I would say maybe 2 millimeters at the highest. That is something that I never noticed when I was skating. Again, maybe I have perfect feet for this shell. But some people, the ankle bone hits right at that ridge, and that creates a pressure point. It is less of a problem with V2 because the material being flexy, it will adjust around your ankle bone. But it's still going to bother you over time. If you are one of those unlucky people that hits right at that spot, over time, skating, a couple hours, 3 to 4 hours during a session, you will start feeling it and it will start hurting. We have taken this flap and we've thinned it out. So it's really hard to see, but you won't be able to really know by looking at it. But the transition now between the flap and the boot is very smooth. So we've reduced that material down to a little over 1 millimeter. I can't really, again, it's kind of hard to see, but this area right here, this flap is now very thin. So it transitions really nicely to the cuff. We can't go completely flat because then it would, rub on the cuff and it would be so thin that it wouldn't be doing its job. But we've got it down so much that now the transition is nice and thin, and that transition from the shell to the cuff shouldn't cause any more pressure points. We've been testing these for a couple of months. And, you know, testers have said that they've been able to skate longer. It's not going to be a huge change, but it's a little tweak that we wanted to make so that people could have a more enjoyable experience when skating. I think that is it with the shells. So lots of little updates to the sole plates, again, just to make quality of life a little bit better, mounting a little bit better, more flat frames staying flat, better countersinking of the bolts, smoothing out the inside of the shells. Should be a much more enjoyable ride. We've also changed out some of the hardware. This is not the final hardware, but we changed out some of the hardware for mounting the buckles. It's a little bit shorter bolts, so when you're tightening the bolts into the T-nuts to mount your buckles and the buckle receptor, there is less thread, but that means that the thread won't stick out into your liner and rip the liner. We had a few reports of that happening. One way to fix that is to put some tape or some cloth or something over top of it, sticky, like padding. Another way is just ensure that the T-nuts are fully recessed and that the bolts don't stick out too far. That's the route that we took. If you find that it's still bothering you with your cuffs, with your liners, you can always put a little bit of tape on top and that should help. So that is the updates to the shell. I already talked about the new heel pads. That was another huge thing that we were bringing out with V3. They were done early, so we were able to release them with a V2.5. These are the new heel pads. These are now stock in every version of the Omni V3. They are 15 millimeters thick. They are made of a polyurethane material. It is nice and squishy, good amount of bounce, but still responsive. It is custom made for the Omni, so it fits right in. There are 3 sizes, the extra small and small, the medium and large, and then the extra large. Fits perfectly into the shells. Double-sided tape on the other side, so it should stick right in there, be nice and cozy, hugs your feet really nicely. I've been really happy with these. We've started sending them out to people just if they wanted to upgrade their V2s or if they wanted to buy a V2.5 with the new heel pads. Response has been great. People are loving these heel pads. Again, we have been shipping them for a while. It was designed for V3. It was part of the big upgrade. But again, we got them early, so we wanted to ship them a little early. So new heel pads are also stock on all V3s. So you should have our best ride yet. I can talk a little bit about the liners. So we did make some tweaks to the liners as well. Working our way up to the new boots. But I did want to share a little bit the new liners. So these are the V3 liners. Not a huge change. The sizing is all fixed. So the larges that were the wrong size, the medium that were a wrong size have been fixed. Those will be the correct size for production, knock on wood, obviously. Until they're here, I don't believe anything, but they have promised me that they will make them correctly. They already knew what they did last time. So the liners are the right size. They are the perfect liner for the Omni. So if you love your Intuitions, I don't blame you. They should work great in the skates. If they don't, the Omnis are the perfect liner, the comfort liners are the perfect liner for the Omni. They are designed for the skate. So it's the perfect length for our shells, perfect width for our shells, perfect height for our shells. It will feel like this just slides in and it creates padding around a plastic shell. That, in my eyes, is the perfect way for a skate to be designed. Obviously, there are improvements that you can make with more expensive padding and materials. Intuition does a great job at that. So if you have your Intuition liners, I always recommend buying a shell-only version of the Omni, sliding your liners in there, see what they feel like. If they don't feel great, if you're getting some slippage, if they don't fill out the shell as well as they could, get yourself a set of the comfort liners. They are $60 in the US. I think they're going to be $70 in the US due to tariffs coming up, which I will get into. I'm not happy about that, but prices are going to go up a little bit, unfortunately. But these are the perfect liners for the V3s and the Omnis, but the V3s especially. Changes that we've made. couple of little color variations. So we've made the light gray pull strap, carry strap, and the light gray badge. These all match the light gray paint on the Brian Weiss skates. And we also have a new sole plate that's going to match this really nicely. The white skates look great. The little flash of gray looks really nice with the white skates as well. Also matches the Somatics wheels and the new anti-rocker wheels. So you could get yourself a pair of black frames with the Brian Weiss Somatics wheels and gray anti-rockers, and then rock them with some comfort liners. Really nice look. Last upgrade that we made, new laces. So liner laces are a very bifurcating subject. A lot of people love them, a lot of people hate them. I love having the option to love them. Personally, I like having a liner lace. I feel like it helps me get tightened in there, not relying on the buckle for keeping my ankle inside this little tongue. The V1 and the V2 came with elastic laces. I absolutely love the elastic laces. The problem though with the elastic laces that we found is that people love to crank the hell out of them. So they will pull the elastic laces as hard as they would pull a normal shoelace. And unfortunately that elastic would break. So instead of giving somebody elastic laces that could work great if you're very gentle with it, and then maybe send them a replacement set if they break them, and then maybe another replacement set, we have switched to skinny round laces. So it's the same length, they're just round laces now, really easy to tighten up. It uses the same clip. You could remove this and tie them if you wanted, but the way that I do it is, I loosen it, slide my foot on in there, and then pull it up tight, and then slide it down. Nice and easy. No reason for the elastic if you're just going to break them. You can always remove these, put in your own laces. You could always remove these and get yourself some elastic laces. But out of the box, less people are going to have problems with these. Ultimately, we want to make a skate that people aren't having a problem with. These round laces are probably the best way to avoid any damaging or any issues with that. Works really well. I might actually prefer them because it gives me a nice lock. Whereas the elastic, it was kind of nice to have a little bit of wiggle, but I kind of like the lock from the round laces. I might have to do a head-to-head and see which one I actually prefer. But these are the new Comfort Liners V3s. Not a huge change. We actually are really proud of the V2 Comfort Liners. Subtle color tweaks, and then obviously the new laces should bring it right into the new skates so that they look great with whatever shells you end up getting. All right, let's talk about Brian's skate. So we are thrilled to have an amazing team. Our first pro model was for Yandi. That was a brown skate with orange highlights, fitty frames, and chroma wheels. It is this skate right here that you can kind of see. That was an amazing experience. So first of all, absolutely love Yandi. Dude's been with the brand since the beginning. He is a extremely passionate, intelligent guy that does not pull any punches. And for me, I'm used to doing a lot of work by myself in like a silo, I love getting that feedback, and I deal with a lot of really nice people. And I'm not going to say that Yandi isn't nice, but when he doesn't agree with something, you'll know it. And I love that about him, because if he wants to tell me that something is good or bad, there's no holding back. Like, he will be the most genuine dude that you've ever met. His skate was an amazing hit. I couldn't be happier with the response. To come out the gate and do from a black and white and black skate, do something with orange and brown and the black and the tan. I mean, that was a very risky colorway, but he had a vision. We pulled it off. It was a beautiful skate. I love the skates. I still skate the skates. They are a beautiful, again, I love the pro models because it is an ode to the skater. It is, for me, all about saying thanks to the skater. As a pro skater, you kind of grow up wanting your skate, that is the pinnacle. You know, it's not like winning the X Games or, you know, an IMYTA or, you know, a blading cup or whatever would be a Winter Clash, whatever would be a modern version of that. Getting a pro skate for a skater is probably that biggest accomplishment. And I was proud to be able to do that. Brian obviously is in that same bucket. So Brian has been with us since the beginning. Brian helped us build Standard from the ground up. He was actually maybe a month after Yandi and Stefan and I started doing the thing. And we approached Brian and he was like, yeah, I think he had just, I don't know who he was skating for at the time. I don't think he was skating for anybody, but that's when I met Brian. It was at the Bitter Cold where we announced Standard, and he had joined the team a couple weeks before then, maybe a month or so before then. It was probably longer because we had already started the molds. So it was probably like 4 months before then, yeah. So he was maybe a month after we started the thing. But I would say, you know, he's been here from the beginning. Brian, again, another dude that is so passionate about rollerblading. He loves to skate, and you can tell. You know, he's been doing it for so long. He has a unique way of looking at obstacles. If you've seen any of his skating, the guy doesn't skate the normal stuff that, you know, I would skate. I am a very vanilla rollerblader. I see a ledge, I jump on ledge, I jump off ledge. Brian sees a ledge, and he'll heel roll down the ledge, stall sole on the bottom, and then jump over some bike rack or something like that. Like totally random stuff that he has so much control with. It makes rollerblading look so interesting. And that is one of the things that I absolutely love about watching him skating. In addition, he's a very artistic guy. So he is a photographer, he's a designer. We knew that he was going to get a pro skate. He was going to get the second pro skate. And he, from the beginning, kind of had this vision of what he wanted to do. And we're still kind of rolling it out. There's still a lot more that we're going to share with Brian and his skate. But we're thrilled to be able to do something unique for him, something in a colorway that has kind of been done before, but not in this sense. And putting everything together in a nice, fun package that I think a lot of people are really going to love. The Brian Weiss Pro Model Skate. So this is Brian's Omni V3. And it is an amazing looking skate. So in hand, this blue, very reminiscent of, I think, the Daytonas maybe. It has a dark, almost like a sparkly look to it. It is not a bright electric blue. It is not a light, you know, Tasha Hudson, Alex Broskow style blue. It is a very royally, almost metallic blue, which pairs really nicely with the silver. So we did the, we were actually going to do like a bright silver to start with. We were like, no, let's tone it down a little bit. Light gray. So we went with light gray on the paint. The laces matching the stripe as well as matching the wheels. So the anti-rocker wheels and the outside wheels. And then as I talked on the liner, the strap and the little badge in front. Little pops of silver, or I should say light gray, to pull out the blue and make it really vibrant. Now, a couple of things that you're seeing on this are not production. So this is a sample that we got. They are making a few parts for us custom. They aren't ready yet. So I had to Photoshop some of those in some of the pictures. Full disclosure, some of those things are color corrected. The buckles, they are making a custom buckle for us. So it is the same buckle technology as they've been using, but they are using the same blue material. Not the same material, it's not going to be flexy, but it's going to be the same blue pigment that they used for the sole plates and for the boots and for the cuffs. So it will be a matching buckle. We will have extra buckles for sale if you would like. They are a standard buckle. They're not our standard buckle, but they are a standard buckle. They should fit on almost any skate out there. If you have been looking for a blue buckle, you can get yourself a blue buckle. You can put a blue buckle on a V2 and put a blue sole plate on there, so you can have a black with a blue buckle, blue sole plate. Everything is completely compatible with the older generations of the Omnis. So you're good to go. Additionally, the cuff rivets. So these, I think, are replaceable. They will not be replaceable. They will be riveted just like all the other Omnis. Again, one of the pieces of feedback that we've gotten, fit, things not fitting right, things breaking, things cracking. We've never had anybody complain that they lost a cuff rivet. And that to me, the cuff bolt, that to me is a vote of confidence that the cuff rivets, although they might be for some people a little frustrating, was a good decision. Nobody says that they have gone missing. Nobody's lost a session because they couldn't find a cuff bolt. That is a thing that I absolutely love. They might be a little tighter in this next shipment. We did get some of them that were loosening a little bit, so we did tighten that down. They use a machine and they put whatever pressure that they dial it in. I think they dialed it down a little bit more, so there's a little bit more pushed down, so it should address some of the loosening that some people have experienced. But they will not fall apart. That is the most important thing. Additionally, these are white and these are white. These are sample wheels. We have all of this in production now, so the gray will match properly. You can't totally see it, but it will be a more gray look. It's going to match. We sent everybody the Pantone color, so they will match perfectly. Again, just full disclosure, the samples that you see here are not fully the way that they will be in production. Few little tweaks, the way that you see them on the websites. That is as close as we could get to rendering the skates the way that they are. This is fairly close, like 90% of the way there. Little colors differences here, and then they will be having the Semantics wheels, 60 millimeter 92A, and the light gray anti-rockers. So that is the Brian Weiss premium version. Now we are doing 2 releases for Brian. We're doing the premium and we're doing the pro. So what is the difference? Why do we have 2 different SKUs? Well, let me show you the pro. So this is the pro. I'm actually out of the 240, so I'm going to use the longer 260 frame, but this is the pro. So it comes with the stock black laces. It comes with the same black anti-rocker frame, but it comes with blue standard wheels and blue anti-rocker wheels. We actually have blue anti-rocker wheels, so this is the color of the blue anti-rocker wheels. And we had some sample wheels made blue a while back. But it will come with standard wheels, standard ABEC 9 bearings, and black laces. Now, why do we have 2 different models? Two different models of the same skate. Well, the reason is money. Plain and simple. I love the idea of having a pro model skate. Our history is with Fitty Fitty working with USD. I feel strongly that USD wouldn't be where they were if they didn't have collaborations with Fitty Fitty, with Senate, with all of the other brands that they worked with back in the days. Additionally, I don't feel like Fitty Fitty would have made it if we didn't have the collaboration with USD. So I feel like it was an amazing partnership. I think both companies rose as a result of the exposure and the collaboration that we had. And I want to continue doing that. So with Yandi, we had the collab with Fitty Fitty and Chroma. A little different because I'm still the guy behind Fitty Fitty and Chroma. With Brian's skate, he skates for Semantics. So we wanted to do wheels with Semantics. The problem is that Semantics are fairly expensive wheels. So we didn't want everybody to have to buy a Brian Weiss skate that had expensive wheels, because a lot of people aren't going to skate the Semantics wheels. Maybe they want some other wheels. Maybe they want cheaper wheels. Maybe they don't want to spend a ton. Maybe they skate mostly ledges and they don't, 60 millimeter 92A. Maybe that's too hard for them. A whole host of reasons why you wouldn't want to skate those wheels. But a lot of people do, and we wanted to offer that as an option. So not only with the premium version do you get the Semantics wheels, you get Semantics bearings, you get the light gray anti-rocker wheels, and you get the light gray waxed laces. So those three things, four things, bearings and wheels, with the light gray wheels and the laces, those four things are an upgrade. So I am a big fan of pinball. We have a virtual pinball machine at home, and we've been eyeing our own pinball machines. We've been looking at Stern Pinball and seeing which machines we could afford. And the way pinball does it is they'll have a base model, which is just the pinball machine, and then they will have like a premium version, and then they'll have like a limited version. So they'll have multiple tiers of the same game. It's the same game, but some of them add like a second deck. So you'd be able to shoot up a ramp, and you'd be able to get a second play field up above the play field. Or sometimes there's a topper that's a specific topper for just the premium version. Or maybe there's special lighting package and a special, paint job or vinyl wrapping on the sides. We wanted to follow that model. So it's the same skate, but if you wanted to get the premium, if you wanted to get the best of the best with the Cymatics wheels, Cymatics bearings, and the wax laces, it's going to be a little bit more money. Now, we will have all the pricing available on Friday. I am trying to make this affordable. It will be less than $400, even in the US with tariffs. That is something that I am thrilled to be able to offer, because the tariffs are kicking our butt right now. Importing these, we're paying an extra 30% at a minimum to just get the skates into the US. So we are doing a lot of gymnastics to make it work legally, not like having somebody swim across across the ocean with some boxes of skates, so that we can diversify where we get wheels, where we get parts, assembling stuff locally, so that we can try and keep the costs down so that they don't impact the retail price, so that people in the US don't pay a ton of money. The nightmare of all of this is if you're not in the US, you don't even care. So we are shipping direct to the shops in the US. We're shipping direct to shops outside of the US. We're getting the wheels delivered here. We're assembling the wheels, and then we will ship the wheels to the shops outside of the US. So they won't have to pay any additional tariffs with them coming in. They'll have to pay import charges just like they would normally. But we will have to figure out, they will have to put them in the box and then do the final assembly at the shops. All of this so that we can keep the costs down, because I really don't want to have a $500 pair of skates. I don't think that that is good for anybody. I think that's going to be cost prohibitive for most people. The Brian Weiss skate will be affordable. It's less than $400 for the full premium. I think it's around $330. I think the final pricing is still being negotiated, figured out, but I think that's where we're going to land. I think it's $340 for the Pro model, and then $380. Is that right? $340 and $380. That sounds right for the Brian Weiss skates in the U.S. Outside of the U.S., prices may vary, but it will be closer to what the V2 releases were. So that is the Brian Weiss skate. One thing that I didn't mention is that it does come with our new anti-rocker frame. So Brian skates anti-rocker, I skate anti-rocker. More than half of our team skates anti-rocker. Our current frames are not great for anti-rocker. They are great for an all-around skate. So if you wanted to, my mindset when designing that first frame that came on the V1s was that we should make a frame that works for anything. You don't know what you want. If you are a skater just getting into it, you buy the stock frames. You want to set them up flat. You want to set them up anti-rocker. You want a frame that can do everything. We heard from shops who preferred to have a frame that was easier for people to skate. And that meant a big groove, and that meant anti-rocker. And I think that there is some merit to it. I think that in addition to that, you could also sell a frame that was flat, like a USD Aeon, that had a big split that was optimized for flat. But I knew that I wanted to make an anti-rocker frame, and we started working on that about a year ago. So we did make our own anti-rocker frame. It is stock on Brian's skate. It is also stock on the white skate. This is the team skate. So it also comes with the anti-rocker frame. It is white. It has all of the same features that Brian Skates does. It has a blue stripe. It has the modifications that we made to thin out the shell, to flatten the sole plate, to recess the cuff bolts or the sole plate bolts. It has the new screws on the inside. It has the new comfort liner. All of the upgrades that we talked about. Comes with 60 millimeter 90A wheels. Comes with the blue anti-rocker wheels, and then it also comes in the new anti-rocker frame, but this time it is in white. Very fresh. So both of the skates are going to come with our new anti-rocker frame. What is our new anti-rocker frame, you may ask? So our new anti-rocker frame is designed for anti-rocker. Literally, you cannot skate this flat. So if you look at the H-block, you can see it is a nice wide groove. The H-block is wide and spacious. The chamfer is deep. You can see my big old nose sticking up over the recess. That is a nice deep chamfer. And the mix of those two gives a really nice grinding experience. So the deep chamfer means that there's virtually no break-in period for these. They will feel better as you skate them, but you can skate them out the box and not have to go to some curb and break them in. They will grind perfectly, and they will only get more perfect, if that's even a possibility, as you grind them in, as you create your own little pocket. It also means that as a beginner or as somebody who doesn't have a lot of precision with their grinds, there's a big area that will catch you. So if you jump on a ledge, it'll catch you in there and throw you back into this H-block, back into this groove. The H-block is skinny. So as you notice, sometimes with H-blocks, they go full width of the inside of the frame. So it'll come from one wall to the opposite wall. We actually brought it in a couple millimeters each way. So it's skinnier on the H-block than it is on the inside of the frame channel. And the reason I would do that is so that we can make this chamfer a little bit bigger. And we can make the H-block a little bit more shallow, but it's not going to get in the way because this area is so deep. It's kind of like we're breaking in the frames early for you. So we're creating this chamfer, which gives that angle a little bit more surface area so that you have more stability when you're doing grinds. But we've kept a really nice tight groove. This groove actually is modeled after the original core frames and the prime frames. So it is I don't know what the number was, but it is the same radius that I used on the prime frame. Maybe we took it in a little bit just so that we could fit this extra little H-block padding. But that is where this catch is. And I'm really, really happy with these. I've only skated them a little bit. You can actually see on the 60s. So these are the 60 millimeter frames. You can see a little bit of, I had to clean them up. I forgot that I only had one pair and I started skating them and I'm like, shoot, I got to bring these over to Blading Cup and show them off. You can see just, I think I skated them a little bit, but you can see just a little wear there. But this is what the frame looks like without the anti-rocker wheels. We do have little arch protection or arch support on the inside, so it still fits any frame bolt that you like, 14 millimeter head. It has a little arch support here that keeps it from squishing. So some anti-rocker frames are very flexible on the outside, kind of flimsy. You're not going to have that feeling with this. It has a fairly tall, you can actually see it better here. You can see the little arch that comes up. Keeps it nice and rigid. At the same time, you can still access the UFS bolts. So if you were, I'll do this one. If you were trying to install these, you can easily access the UFS bolts. As we put these in the box, we put the boots in the box, and then the skater assembles them for the first time, kind of like IKEA. So they're building their skate, they're learning what UFS is, they're learning that these frames are replaceable and that, hey, there might be other frames out there that I could try. You can assemble your skates so they become your skates. It's really easy because you now have access to the UFS bolts. This split is 110 millimeters. So from 2 and 3 is 110 millimeters. We could have gone wider, but we didn't see the point. We have a really nice groove here, super deep chamfer. We've even got a little bit of what some would say like wheel bite protection of sorts. So the H-block actually comes up instead of just cutting right at the tip of the groove. It actually comes out and is a little thick over here. But yet you can still access the bolts. From an outside, the maximum wheel that you can ride on a flat boot. So if I had a boot that was completely flat, like this, and I mounted a boot like this, and you can see the wheels don't roll, that means that the wheels are perfectly at the top here. They have 1 millimeter of tolerance. It is a 58 millimeter maximum wheel that you can fit on the outside like that. You could potentially fit 60, but you might rub on the top. There's only 1 millimeter of gap between the top of a 58 millimeter wheel and the top of the frame. Extremely low ride height. So I would say that's a 58 millimeter ride height. Maybe 50, or no, what would I say? It is a 29 millimeter ride height. So 30 would be 60. So it's 29 millimeter ride height. 30 millimeter ride height. 29 would mean 58 millimeter would be all the way at the top. So it's 29 millimeter. Now, if we're doing a 29 millimeter ride height, how are we selling them with 60 millimeter wheels? Because most modern skates have a recess in the front and the back so that the wheels can actually dip inside the sole plate. So this is the front and this is the back. Every skate that has come out since, I don't know, the last 5 years or so, I mean, it's since Cletus created the wish frame, to be honest, has had this recess. And this recess enables bigger wheels on the outside than would fit normally. So this wheel can go below the frame and fit into the sole plate. We are selling them with 60 millimeter wheels on the V3s. Brian's skate comes with 60 millimeter wheels. The stock skates or the Brian's Pro model comes with 60 millimeter wheels. You can fit up to a 65 millimeter wheel on these babies. You can see the amount of space that you've got. This is a 260, but you can see the amount of space on the 260. There's only 5 millimeters, 7 millimeters difference between the 260 and the 245, 7.5 millimeters. So you can imagine this wheel moving in 65 millimeters, no problem. And then when you get to the 275, I mean, this thing is a beast. You're not going to have any problems fitting them up here. Maximum wheel on the inside. So I designed them initially just for our anti-rocker wheels. Our anti-rocker wheels are 44 millimeters. Most anti-rocker wheels are 47 millimeters. Luke convinced me that I should give it a little bit more room because some people like bigger anti-rocker wheels, especially if you're riding 65 millimeter wheels. You want a big, like, monster truck. You're going to want 50 millimeter anti-rocker wheels. So it fits a maximum of 50 millimeter anti-rocker wheel. You can see the little gap between, like, I can stick my finger in, you can see how much space there is. That's as close as you can get to the H-block. So 44, it's another 3 millimeters on each side. Yeah, that's right. 3 millimeters. Sometimes when I talk and I try to do math, my math gets all screwed up. I think the numbers are right. If they're wrong, let me know in the comments. I usually go back and correct myself, but 6 millimeter difference here, cut that in half, 3. So we've got 3 millimeters difference between these two, plus 1 millimeter, because I always make sure that I have a millimeter for tolerance. That brings me to a 50 millimeter. You might even be able to fit 52 with a little bit of dremeling. If you can find some old Cosmo wheels, or what were they, Jake Elliott's wheel or 50, I don't remember whose wheel was 52 millimeter. They used to have some flat, oh, was it Jeff Fredericks used to have 52 millimeter wheels? Somebody had 52 millimeter wheels. If you found any of those, you could skate these flat. Definitely would not recommend that. I feel like a wheel should be 58 millimeters. 56 is fine. I have skated these with 56 millimeter wheels and they're fine. But anti-rocker, I prefer skating something big. 60 millimeters where it's at, 58 is fine. But 60 millimeter, highly recommended. 44 millimeters on the inside, stock. 47 is pretty much the average, 46, 47. Up to 50 if you wanted to rock a bigger anti-rocker wheel on the inside. As I mentioned, they come in 3 sizes. 3 sizes of frames. So this is the first time that I've made 3 sizes of frames. I mean, technically I made the 290 for the prime frames for the core system, but because there wasn't a mold, I don't really count that as more like a hobby than a actual product. We looked at frame sizes and we looked at skate sizes and we said, you know what, the 250 that we are offering on the standard frame and that 50/50 makes looks a little long on our extra small boot. I don't have an extra small boot here to illustrate, but I should have brought one in. What do other people do? And we found that a lot of companies, their smallest frame is 245 millimeters. So we made the small and extra small fit our 245 millimeter frame. This is a small boot with a 245 frame. Now the small is 12 millimeters longer than the extra small. So if you look at the front and the back of the frame, you can imagine cutting 6 millimeters off the front and 6 millimeters off the back, how nicely this frame would fit on the extra small. You're not going to get any overhang like you typically would do, or like you would with the 250. This is a medium. So the medium is getting the 260. So we said, well, 250 is too close to 45. What if we went up to 260? A lot of people like 260. So this is the 260. This is a 260 millimeter frame. And this is on the medium. You can see how long this 260 is on the medium frame. It is right at the end of the back of the frame of the sole plate. So you don't get any overhang. It's a really nice ride. We are also going to be using the 260 on the large. Let me show you what that looks like. So I'll take my Yandis down again. Do I have my tool here? I do. So when we announced the 260, people were asking, well, I want to ride the 260 on the large. I think that would be great for any rocker, and they were 100% right. When I skate a 260 millimeter frame on a large boot, it feels really nice because I think 260 is a very responsive, very zippy wheelbase for a large skate. So here's a large boot, and this is the large boot. Forgive the blue with the orange. I guess it kind of works. This is a large boot with the 260, and you can see the spacing is really nice. This is what I skate. And for the look down, you can still see your wheel, which is the most important part. So that's our 260. This is a large boot. This is how it will come if you buy a complete large boot. And then finally, the 275 is for the extra large. It is a long frame. I initially thought that it should fit on the large, but then I saw that there was a little bit of overhang. Get on there. There. A little bit of overhang in the back. And I was like, oh, wait a second. We can't have overhang. So we are purposely using the 275 specifically for the extra large. It is a good length. You wouldn't think that 5 millimeters made that much of a difference. I don't have it set up, but you can imagine what it would look like. The extra large is also a fairly long boot for us. It's a 15 millimeter gap between the large and the extra large, plus or minus a couple millimeters. So at the most, it could be a 19 millimeter gap. We have talked about making a in-between shell. That is still in the cards. That is still on the list. It's going to require some money, hoping that V3 does well so that we can reinvest and start working on those molds. Until then, the extra large will be the only skate that is getting the 275. But in the future, I think the large plus will get it as well. I think it's the perfect size for a size 11, size 12 skate. And then, you know, the size 12, 13. Technically, I guess 11, 12. But again, our extra large, I feel like is bigger than it needs to be. So I would love to make that shell that goes on the in-between. And now we have a frame purposefully built for it. So 3 sizes of anti-rocker frames. This is going to be an amazing feeling. You're finally going to be able to dial in that ride, not have to sacrifice with what's available out there. You'll have a few different options. These frames are going to be available as part of the standard Omni, so be able to get them, save a little bit of money, get yourself a nice 60 millimeter wheel, anti-rocker wheels, and then it will come with a boot. We are also going to be selling these frames aftermarket. So that was a difficult decision, to be honest. As a frame company owner, I am always hesitant to have skate companies make their own frames. I think making an OEM stock frame is fine, but we are really proud of this frame. And I think people are going to really like it. You know, Brian and Luke had been skating different frames most of their careers, and brought a lot of opinions. And this frame takes into account a lot of the feedback that they had. We skated samples, we skated 3D printed samples, we skated different samples, modified the molds a couple of times to tighten the groove and make it perfect for the way that they like to skate. They're really happy with these frames. And I didn't want to limit this to just the skates. I felt like there was a lack of good anti-rocker frames out there. There are a few, but the majority of frames out there are now designed for flat. As an anti-rocker skater who's kind of having to skate flat now because of back injuries and being old, but I love an anti-rocker frame, and I wanted to make sure that there were anti-rocker frames out there. Proud of this frame, so we're going to be selling it aftermarket. They will be available in shops, all 3 sizes, white and black. You'll be able to get them with the basic hardware, the same hardware that we sell with skates. They will be in their own box, so it's not going to be pulled from a skate or anything like that. It will be an actual product that we will be selling that shops will be able to have. In addition, the anti-rocker wheels will be sold aftermarket. So if you wanted to get yourself a set of blue anti-rocker wheels, light gray anti-rocker wheels, we also have some black and white anti-rocker wheels and the tan anti-rocker wheels still available. So you could swap those in, set up your anti-rocker frames with anti-rocker wheels, and then get whatever outside wheels you want. They're going to be a great frame for people who want them. In the US, so this is tariff pricing, in the US they will be $70 for a set. This includes the tariffs. If the tariffs weren't here, they would be $60. So if anything changes with tariffs, we will see what we can do to get that price down. But $70 for a set in 3 sizes, 2 colors. Outside of the US should be equivalent to around $60 US. That is the target that we are going after. And they are great frames. They're glass-filled nylon. They're the same material that I've been using for years to make frames. It holds up great. It is lightweight. It is rigid. It slides great. Again, I think you're going to really love these frames. I love these frames. I had to stop myself from skating them because I knew that I had to have them in fairly good condition to show them off. I cannot wait to get back to skating these frames because this groove, it just locks me so nice. You really just lock in. You don't have to worry about fighting to get over a hump. You don't have to worry about breaking them in because let's be honest, I don't skate a lot of curbs or ledges. I skate mostly angle iron, skate mostly coping. I don't have time to go out there and break in a frame. This is perfect out of the box for me. New anti-rocker frames. That is V3, I think. I don't think that I missed anything else. We have a few more announcements this week, so make sure that you stay tuned to the Instagram. We are also opening up pre-orders on Friday. Talk a little bit about pre-orders. So this year is the most important pre-order year yet. Maybe the V1 was, because if we didn't get support from pre-orders, then we wouldn't be able to make the product. So again, thank you to everybody who supported us back in V1. I know a lot of you supported even though you didn't even want new skates because you felt like it was the good thing to do and that you wanted to support us getting, you know, making our dreams come true and putting more good stuff into the community. This year's a little different. So we're not struggling on money. We've mostly paid off our molds. We're able to start production. You know, last time we couldn't start production without help. This time we are in production. We are a couple weeks away from finishing up. The big thing right now is the tariffs. So anything that I bring in from China, so all of our skates are made in China. Anything I bring in from China to the USA, I get hit with a pretty high tariff. Now, average is around 30%. Could be more, could be less. It really just depends on when it lands. If I am selling a skate for $300, if a shop is paying $150, and if it costs me $75, doubling up all the way, right? Those aren't the real numbers, but let's just make the math easy. If I'm paying 30% on $75, that's an extra what? 22 bucks, something like that. So that means that my cost goes up $22. So I'm at $97, $98. So I sell to a shop for double that. Or maybe I just add that $19 to a shop, say add $20, $25. I don't make any money because the tariffs are just a charge. They're just an expense to me. I just pass that tariff on to the shop so that I don't have to end up paying it. They have to end up absorbing it, and then they have to raise their price to the skaters. That is tricky math that I had not had to worry about in the past. So why do pre-orders matter this year? Well, most of all, they matter so that we know how many skates we need to bring in. I am going to keep some skates in China so that I can continue to sell them to shops outside of the US and avoid bringing them in and paying tariffs just to have them sit in the warehouse. Currently with V2, because we beat the tariffs, I have a couple hundred pair of skates just sitting back there. They've been sitting back there for like 8 months. That's absolutely fine. I didn't pay an extra dime to bring them in early. Now, I would have had to pay an extra 30% to bring them in early. That's a lot of money. So I'm trying to avoid that. I want to make sure that anybody who wants a pair of skates gets a pair of skates on day one. And I want to make sure that shops can give their customers the skates that they ordered on day one. That means that we need to let shops know what skates we want, and we need to make sure that I know what skates I need to bring in and what skates each shop needs. So I don't know that it's as much a money thing this time. It is a availability thing. If people wait until the last minute, until they come into, until they drop and they say, oh, I wanted to get those Brian Weiss skates. He's my favorite skater. I love Detroit, 8 Mile, all that. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to pick up a pair, as soon as they hit the shop. It's like, it might be too late. Because if a shop, say the shop wants to order 40 pairs of skates, I'm not going to have extra skates to ship to them. I'm not going to bring in all of the skates that I've ordered. I'm going to leave some in China and then slowly bring them in. Especially, so put this math into your head, especially a shop in, say, Canada. So if I'm shipping to Canada from the factory in China, they pay no tariffs. They get the normal pricing that they had been getting, which is, say $300 for $150 for a pair of skates, $300 for a retail pair of skates. So if they order from China, that's all that they have to worry about. Now imagine that they want to order skates from me because they've sold through all of the skates that they brought in and they need more because they've sold more skates. I have to send them now a more expensive skate because I got my shipment from China and imported into the US. I had to pay an extra 30%, which means that their cost is going to be an extra 30%, which means that their customer who bought the skates when they showed up at the shop will have to pay a little bit more than somebody who paid, a couple of weeks earlier. My recommendation is if you are interested in picking up a pair of Omni V3s, if you have the means, put it on a credit card. I don't do pay in full. I'm not asking anybody to get into debt. But if you have the means and if you want to buy a pair of skates, you want to guarantee that you get a pair of skates on day one, make sure that you participate in the pre-order. It is super important so that we know how many skates to bring in. If you're ordering from a shop, maybe just ask them, say, hey, I don't have the money right now, but can I get a pair of skates? Can you reserve me a pair of skates? That way they will know how many skates to bring in, because there is nothing worse than a shop bringing in a whole bunch of skates and overselling, having more skates sold than they actually brought in. We had that happen twice last year with the V2s. It's going to happen again with the V3. And the problem is that that price is now going to be higher for that shop because I can't eat that tariffs charge. So that extra $20, $30 that I'm going to have to pay to import the skates into the US, I'm going to have to charge that shop an additional $20 to $30. So do yourself a favor, do your shop a favor, especially if you are not in the US. Reach out to them this Friday or within the next couple of weeks and say, hey, I'm really interested in getting this pair of skates. Will you have enough for me? And then they'll say, yes, let me know which size you need and size, model and everything. They will put that down. They will order it from me so that they can ensure that they get them. Now, how are we working that with the shops? Depends on the shop, of course. But a lot of the shops I've said, I want to make sure that you have extra inventory. I will give you extra time to pay your bill so that you can bring in extra inventory because I don't want to bring them into the US, have to pay for them and then ship them to you. This is where we're at now with tariffs. And it is a lot of stupid logistics that I really didn't want to have to deal with. I am not that guy. I'm a rollerblader who is a software developer and a designer. I don't have any experience with import-export or logistics. This is where my life has been lately. The result is that the pricing for the Omni V3 is unchanged from V2 outside of the US. So it's $300 for the completes, 230 for the boot onlys, and 170 for the shell onlys. Completely the same as it was for V2s. For the Brian Weiss Pro model, same price. We're using the same wheels as the Team Skate. We're going to eat the royalty. He's getting a royalty on the skates, but we're going to eat the royalty as a marketing expense, so you won't pay any more, so they will be $300 outside of the US. And the same breakdown, the 229 and the 169, 170 for a shell only. In the US, there will be more charged on top. So I think I mentioned that the Pro model Brian Weiss with the stock wheels is going to be $340. I think that is correct. The number might change by Friday, but I think it's $340. For the signature model, the premium model with the wax laces and the Somatics wheels and the Somatics bearings, they're going to be $380. So that is the difference between our Pro wheels, our stock wheels and the Somatics wheels with bearings. So we are not making any additional money on that. We're paying wholesale pricing to Somatics so that we can support them. They're also giving Brian a royalty on the wheels. And we're just passing that cost over to you. So you are paying exactly what you would pay on the street, but you are now getting it with a complete package. And we are throwing in the wax laces at no additional charge. So it is just the same amount of money that you would pay on the bearings and wheel combo. Trying to make it as easy as possible for people. Again, I hate having super expensive pro skates. I want to make sure that we can also pay tribute to Brian's sponsors and support smaller brands so that they get more exposure, so that they get their flowers. Somatics makes a great product. If we can have Brian's skate with Somatics wheels as a pro skate, a signature premium version of a pro skate, that makes me really happy. So that's what we're going to do. Boot only, I think, is $250 in the US. So I think it's an extra $30, $20. So yeah, $250. It's an extra $20 because of the tariffs. And then shell only would be $185, I think. All of these numbers I just did last night, so they're not super fresh in my brain. I haven't built out the shopping carts. They will not be a huge jump like we could have done. One of the reasons is that I am based in the US. So I pay my cost while importing skates. So when I import from China, instead of paying wholesale, like if you were to buy a skate direct from China, you would pay at that sell price. So that's 30% on top of, $300 or whatever for skates. For me, I pay at my purchase price. I'm not paying at wholesale, I'm not paying at retail. So I can get in a little bit lower from tariffs, still sucks, and I'm only passing over the amount of tariff that I am paying onto the shop. So we're trying to make this as painless as possible. It still sucks, and I will also caveat that shit could change next week. Like, we don't know. That's what makes this so difficult. This year has been very tough. I don't know what the tariffs will be like when I bring skates in. Honestly, don't know. I don't know if they're going to be higher or lower, and I won't know until they hit customs. So it's not enough for me to say, okay, the skates are done with production, put them on the boat, and they start sailing. 2 weeks, they're going to sit on the boat. Tariffs could go to 100%, and I'm going to have to pay that. So that's the risk that I'm in right now, and that's why I'm very conservative, not politically, very conservative with how many skates I'm going to be bringing in, because I don't want this to happen. I don't want to pay more than I have to, and I don't want to extend that cost over to skaters. Like, I need to stay in business, and this is the way to do it. Anyway, that's V3 in a nutshell. I tried to do the fun stuff first and then the business stuff second. All that to be said, if you are planning on getting a pair of V3s, please make sure that you pre-order. If you're getting a pair of frames, again, the frames are going to be $60 outside of the US, $70 in the US with the tariffs. Still not a huge cost for a pair of frames nowadays, but we're trying to keep that cost low, that price low, so that everybody can get out there and get a pair of the frames. Make sure that you pre-order so that I know how many to bring into the US. Make sure that you pre-order so that the shops know how many to bring in. I have a feeling these frames are going to move pretty quickly. We're not bringing in a ton of them the first run, but we will supplement in the future with more frames. I am very proud of these frames. I think you're going to love these frames. Not only is it an amazing complement to an amazing boot, but standalone, these frames are going to optimize any of your setups. Go out there and put them on any skate. They are UFS, and go out there and skate. You're going to love them. Huge thanks to Brian for putting up with my stuff throughout the last couple of months, getting this off the ground, working with me on this. I am so proud of this skate. Love this team the best. This is by far the best skate that I've seen this year, and I'm just saying that. I absolutely love these skates. They look great in hand. We will have these at Blading Cup, so if you're coming out to Blading Cup in 2 weeks, I will be out there. We will have a booth. We will have the premium version. We'll have the pro version. We'll have the white skates. We'll have the frames. We'll have some new shirts. We'll have new posters. We'll have a bunch of stuff for you. Come on out and say, hey, I would love to see you. These are our next pro model, and I couldn't be happier with Brian and everything that he represents, and I think that this is going to be a really successful launch. Thanks to all of the support out there. It's been amazing to see all of the comments. It's kind of it's been a rough summer getting ready for this release, but yeah, we're really, really proud of what we've put together. All right, let's see what we can do with some comments. Now, does anybody have any questions? I think I covered everything under the sun, but if you have any questions, make sure that you tag back to Blading. I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top and see if there's anything that I didn't address. Always like to answer your questions. If you're asking in the future, if we've already done the live stream and you're asking in the future, make sure that you leave a comment. Just put a question in the comments. I always read my comments. If you have a question for me, I will answer it as to the best of my ability. I'll point you in the direction to find those answers if I don't have them. Scrolling up to the top, first one, James Kopaz. The medium is too long, the small is on the edge of too small. Any tips of punching out the box, the toe area? Try to heat gun and it didn't do anything. Oh, James, yeah. So the first thing that I recommend when people are having issues with the length, it is okay to say that the skates just aren't going to work for you. And I know that's kind of a kind of a giving up mode, but I am always a proponent of skating the skate that feels best for you. Not necessarily the skate that you want to skate. I know that sucks, but if you can't find a setup, it's okay to not skate the skates that you really want to skate if it means that you're going to have a better skating experience. That being said, first thing I always recommend is check your liners. So we made the Comfort liner so that they fit the shell perfectly. Highly recommend the Comfort liners. They are $60 in the US. They will fill out the shell with a 3mm pad in the front and like an 8mm pad in the back. So it gives about a 10mm after heat molding, maybe more like 8mm, but it fully fits the volume of the shell. What that means is that your foot will fit in there and you will know if you have the right shell or not. If you need to squeak out a couple more millimeters, try getting a different heel pad. So the new heel pads are 15mm tall. You can put one of these on there and stack another heel pad on top, or you can put a riser in there and stack this on top of the riser. What that will do is it will lift your foot. If you look at the way that the Omni is shaped, the toe and the heel, it will lift your foot more into this heel area. So this is where a little bit more space can be found, in the toe and in the heel. If you can lift yourself up inside the shell, a little bit like that, and then you put the heel pad in there, which lifts you a little bit more, your heel might fit better into this pocket, and your toes might have a little bit more room to breathe in the front. Those are really it. Like, you can try punching it out with a heat gun. I don't recommend it with the polyurethane that we use for our V2 shells. The V1 was different and you could definitely punch it out with the heat gun, but this is possible to melt and crack. So be very careful with using the heat gun. Honestly, I would probably just stick with the medium in your situation, and I would probably find a thicker liner. So you could go with the Crown liners from MyFit. You can go with Fat Boys from MyFit. Even some of the Intuition Premiums are a little thicker, in my opinion. So you might be able to find a liner that has a little bit more density to it, and that can fill out that medium shell, because it sounds like the small shell is going to be too tight for you. And then ultimately, it just might not be the skates for you. You know, our shells are 12mm apart from the small to the medium. That's a pretty good break. But if it's so long that it's annoying to you, there's not a ton that we can do. You can put some socks or some padding in the front of the toe so that it fills out that section. But I really think that your best bet is to skate with a medium, and then maybe fill out that shell with either a liner or put some padding in the front, or some material in the front so that it keeps your foot from moving around. There's still a very svelte, small form-fitted shell, so your foot isn't going to look huge in a medium. But yeah, sucks. I'm sorry. I wish that we had more money so that we could make in-between shells for everything. Someday, maybe. Pouring Blue, hey, what's going on? The new standards for everyone. Thanks for giving me my wish. The blue standard, Brian Weiss skate, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Toro, thank you so much. Also hope that everything's going good with your new occupation. Yeah, you messaged me about having a blue skate for Brian Weiss, and I couldn't stop but think, maybe he knows something. I don't know that you did, but yes, it is a blue skate for Brian Weiss. Very, very happy with it. Cannot wait to see you rocking them. Especially, I think you would probably be the guy that would get the white sole plates on the blue skate, maybe even the light gray sole plates, knowing you. Zame Lindy, is there a potential for Andrew Broom to get a pro skate? Absolutely. We want to do skates for all of our team. And that is, from my perspective, my way of saying thank you for everything that you've done for rollerblading. Andrew's an amazing skater. I've just got to know him maybe this year, but we've gotten along really well. I really like the dude. Haven't been able to really, I don't think I've even met him in real life, to be honest. Have I? I don't think I have. It's only been like video and everything. He will be out at, so first of all, he's going to be at Frankie's this weekend, and then he's going to be out at Blading Cup. So I'm going to be out at Blading Cup, first time that I'll ever actually get to hang out with him. Really looking forward to spending some time with that guy, because again, I don't know him that well, but definitely want to do a pro skate for him, want to do pro skate for Luke, want to do pro skate for Stefan. All of the 5 should get a skate. It is, again, the reason why they're on the pro team. They are that upper level of skater, the sort of skater that we want to bring attention to, that I feel represents the blading community in a positive way, shows blading in its best light. I mean, end of the day, they're just great people. So I want to continue making pro skates. Every year we plan on doing a release with a pro skate, and yeah, Andrew's definitely definitely on my list. Zek Wilt, if you have a tan sole lying around, can you indulge me and show what it looks like on the Weiss shell? Yes, it is the Fila Krusty, as I remember the Krusty. I don't have a tan sole plate. So we actually sold out of the tan sole plates pretty quickly. Unfortunately, we did the 2.5. So we did the 2.5 release, and that was the black V2 with a tan sole plates. And I completely underestimated how many sole plates I had, and we sold out of the large in the first week. They were out of the mediums already. I think I've got one small left. I will say, though, that it is the same color as this. So with this, you can imagine what the sole plate would look like. Not bad. There's also a black or a brown sole plate, which I think is going to be the sleeper hit. So this blue with this brown, I think it's going to be a good look too. Could do it this way. Let's get it the other way. There. I think that's going to be really, really good looking. Or this this brown skate with the blue sole plates. Yeah, that's going to be fresh. Anyway, but I do not have a tan sole plate. I apologize. I wish I had more parts. Too popular, selling too much. Anna Marker frame question: how do they compare against Korea Originals when doing Royale and alley sole switch up, where you pivot your Royale foot to sole, need a lift, or can rotate into it? It is an excellent question that I am absolutely not qualified to answer. I have not seen Brian do pivot grinds, but I would send him a message on Instagram and ask. He is pretty swamped with direct messages right now, as you can imagine, but is a super hospitable dude and would absolutely love to answer your question. Maybe even get you a clip of him doing it. You might also want to ping Luke and ask Luke. I know he's super busy during the weeks, but weekends he usually has some time, and just ask. I don't know if I've seen either of them do that trick, but I'm sure that they can, and they can give you more feedback on it. They both have skated creates, so they would know what the difference is between the two. Excellent question. I wish I had more information. D Rizzle, I would like a helmet. Please send a message. backtoblading.com/helmet is where you go. Just put a link in the chat. So head on over there, fill out your information. Zek Wilt, IMYT Balance Distribution Warehouse. I don't know that we'll have a competition here, but I would love to have events. We always have the open house at the Crowder event. So if Crowder event is Saturday, we'll have an open house Sunday. Definitely we'll have it open on Sunday for everybody to come out and skate. I would love to have, maybe a game of skate. If you remember, so it's very inspired by the Razor's warehouse. If you remember that, they had the two down ledges and the quarter pipe at the end. Definitely took inspiration from that. And if you remember, there was the Aragon versus Haffey video on Chris's YouTube channel that they did a game of skate. And I think Brian won. I would love to see a game of skate there. That would be a lot of fun. And we have the rail in the middle too, so you could throw the rail in there as well. But that would be, yes, I would love to do that. Giving me good ideas. It'll happen. Jordan Skate, I've heard numerous people talking about the Omni toe box being smaller in shape. Any consideration for opening the toe box? Any change to a mold is difficult. So a skate mold is pretty much set in stone. You can maybe wiggle a millimeter here or there, but because of the way that it is made, it is not a traditional, one top cavity bottom, and it creates this mold like this. It is a foot last in the inside, and then there's a mold that goes around it. So by modifying this mold, you have to modify multiple molds. That is not something that is done. If we were to modify the toe box, and first, I haven't heard many people say that the toe box wasn't big enough. In the large, I have, but in any other size, people actually complain that the toe box is too big. But if we were to do that, it would probably be a brand new mold. Modifying frames, modifying sole plates, things like that, or if we were to modify the look and feel of the Omni, like change some curves on the outside, that would be doable. You know, as you saw John do with the 908, using an off-the-shelf mold, doing some inserts to smooth places out, you can do that. But doing an actual change to the shape is very, very expensive, and most people won't do it because it's very difficult to do. All right, scrolling. Jane Kopaz, any thoughts on dual size liners for shell? I'm on a small size of medium, so I downsize. Mediums I swim in, but are more comfortable. We had tried dual size liners in V1. My experience with dual size liners, now I will preface this by saying that it was our first skate. So if there is a better way to do a dual size liner, I don't know it. I need to get better at making liners, and the only way that we get better at making liners is by making a lot of liners. Our feedback from our first liner was because we had a neoprene toe, people would complain that sometimes they would stub their toes, and there was no padding in the front, which means that when you stub your toes, it really hurt. So what we did was instead of doing a neoprene liner in a dual size, we pushed that liner all the way out so that it fills the inside of the shell, and then let people just put their foot in there, and it would, you know, take up 2 sizes. You know, you could add extra socks, you could add an insole to fill out that area, but that's kind of what you ended up with. I would love to continue experimenting with liners. It is not something that I have any experience with in the past, but I'm getting better at it. So in the future, we will be introducing more liners. That is inevitable. I think we've gotten the comfort liner to a point where we're really happy with it. Some small tweaks probably coming in V4, but I'm really happy with it. Feedback has been great about it. That doesn't mean that we're done making liners though, so stay tuned. Dual fit is an interesting one. I don't know how to do it, but I have some ideas. So let's see what we can do with V4, finish up the comfort liner, and then we'll see what we can end up with. Great question, though. Ryan C. Potts, I love seeing the passion that goes into your skates. We'll be buying a pair when I can afford. Thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. A reminder, we do offer shell only as well as boot only and complete. So if you were trying to just get a pair, obviously not trying to get you to spend money you don't have. But if you're trying to get yourself a pair without having to buy the full skate, you can always repurpose another set of frames. You could repurpose a existing liner, get yourself a shell only. That's a great way to save a little bit of money. We sell more shell onlys than any other configuration. I think it's the way that we are now in rollerblading, where people have plenty of product already, or they have a liner that they like and they don't want to get our liners, so they'll just get it shell only. We're more than happy to sell it to them. We're still making plenty of money on it, and we actually have a partnership with the factory that sells us shell only, so it's really nice for us. Might be something that you're interested in, a way to try out the Omni without breaking the bank. And thanks for watching. True Skate, new skates dangle for the camera. I think I already did. Oh, are you asking if I'm going to go out there and skate? When they come in, I will go out there and skate, and I will do a video for you. Adam, I miss you, and I wish that I could skate more. I will not be coming to the compound for it. That's pretty far for these skates, but I will probably go back to Durham. I will probably skate another time. I will probably skate Brian's skate. These skates that I have the samples of actually were from the original samples back in January. They are not the V3, they are a V2, but in V3 colors. I only have 2 pair, and Brian's getting them. They are a small, so they won't fit me. But as soon as I have a pair in large, which will probably be after everybody else gets their skates, since as soon as the skates get here, oh, maybe I'll get some air shipped. Maybe I'll get some air shipped and do it for you. I don't know. I'll see what I can do. When's your birthday? Vincent, so I think having a hard time seeing without my glasses. Can standard liner medium fit into the Razor Shift size 8-9? Does it fit snug or loose? That is a question I cannot answer. I do not have a Shift size 8-9. What I will say is that it is designed around a size 42 skate. If the Shift 8-9 is a 42, it should probably fit well. My hunch is that it will fit well. The medium is pretty much spot on. The 9 is pretty much spot on. People absolutely love the fit of our medium skate, which is a size 42. So I think it will fit, but I don't know. You might want to post that on like a Facebook group or something and ask if somebody can try it out for you. That would be my way of testing it. Guto Fashion, you don't plan to bring the all black boot from before onto the market. We like having the colored stripes. The main point of having the base painted is so that we could differentiate between releases and that we can make a black boot look unique. If this all black sample were just stock, every black skate would look the same and you wouldn't know which version you had. And more importantly, there's no reason to upgrade. I know that just a color is a little thing, but if a color designate which release you've got and you see somebody who's skating the newer release, you can ask them, oh, what do you think about those? What's new in that release? And then they can learn a little bit more and they can get that pair of skates or they can get a new pair of skates. So having a unique look for a black skate is important to us. I might do an all black someday. We are testing a few different options for V4, but we're still a ways away from that. Never say never though, and I appreciate the need to have a nice flat black. You can always paint the bottom though. That's always an option for you. Whoop 5257, sorry if this was asked and answered. Does the V3 have the same flex as V2? It was not asked, but I'm happy to answer it. It is the same material as we used for the V2. So the V3 doesn't change anything. Now, there is potential, because this area in here is a little bit thinner to reduce pressure points around the ankle, there is potential that the lateral flex will be a little increased because this material for the plastic is a little thinner. Luke is the only one who has skated these skates. Luke is the guy who was experiencing some ankle pressure. So he could only skate for a few hours before he had to take the skates off because it started hurting him. He is able to skate these V3s with no problem whatsoever. He has not mentioned to me that there is any difference in flex. No increase or decrease in flex for topside tricks, royals, or anything like that. So if there is, it is not noticeable to him. And he's really good about, he's like Princess and the Pea. Like he picks up on little differences and things. He's an amazing tester. So I love sending him all the stuff. He's like the guy that tested all of our shock absorbers. He's the guy that tested all our wheels. If he saw that there was a difference, he would probably mention it. So I don't think there's going to be any difference between V2 and V3, but if anything, I could see them being a little bit flexier up in the cuff area. Great question though, and nobody asked. Brendan Fitzpatrick, did you see iRoller Boot is back for a iRoller bit? Yes, I did. I didn't see the video that Mike posted. I saw the thumbnail, but I didn't watch it. I've never met Ben. Maybe I met him at Winter Clash. Good dude. We've talked a little bit. It's good to have him back. I don't know if he's going to be back forever or for a while. But what a wild age of rollerblading we were in. You know, we had daily live streams. We had, me doing Gear Talk every other week. We had multiple podcasts. We had a bunch of YouTube channels. It was a very creator-heavy time. I really miss that. And I hope that Ben comes back and does more stuff. Because, again, I'm just a fan of rollerblading, and the more rollerblading we can have, the more rollerbladers we will have, and that's a good thing. When's Brian's edit coming out? Great question. He is finishing up the edit, so I think he's got all the clips already. We will be posting a little bit more about that tomorrow on the Instagram. But he got the clip, so the picture that you saw today of him doing a top sole in the new frames was while he was out filming for the edit. The big jump down the mistrial down the big side of the overpass, that was while filming for the edit. I think he's got all his clips. We will probably have more information about the edit soon. I will say that it won't be before Blading Cup because it's going to get really busy with media and posts and stuff. We want to make sure that we can wait because the edit's going to be amazing. I've seen some of the clips and he's like on a different level right now. So very excited to get the edit out there. I will say that it's probably going to be after Blading Cup though. They still need to finish editing it and doing all the stuff. But it will be worth the wait, I will say that. James Copez isn't able to skate them. Just hope there was a way to get a millimeter or two. 270 Mondo using the new heel pad with Intuition Premiums. Yeah, I hear a lot of people with Intuition Premiums having problems fitting them into the skates. I'm in the same boat. I really think there's something with those liners that's just, there's some padding or some cut somewhere that is just bigger than it needs to be. It is the most common liner that people complain having an issue with, that the sizing is just off. And again, it fits great with our liners. Those Intuition liners, you know, I'm not an Intuition lover. Like there's a lot of people out there who stand by their Intuitions. I've always thought they're okay. Those Premiums specifically though, I've heard a lot of people complaining about the way that they fit into skates. I have heard that the Them Intuitions work really well in our skates. I have not skated them, but that's the liner. If you were wanting to get an Intuition, that would be the liner that I would recommend for the Omnis. Whoopie 5257. I noticed some skaters with Omni have cut out the UFS area and mounted the frame directly to the boot. Yep. Would you ever make an SL style sole plate to make the boot tricks easier? Yes. So the goal of Omni eventually would be to offer multiple sole plates that do multiple things. So this is our aggressive sole plate, is really just designed for the best sole experience, the best Royale experience, the best Favre experience, torque experience, negative experience. But we know that people want to skate Omni in different ways. We would love to make a sole plate that is a little thinner, a little lower, maybe access to UFS so that you could mount it even closer to the boot. All of those things are in the works. It's just going to take some time. The first chest piece that we needed to move was to get the extra small so that we can make the same mounting hardware for everything work. Now that we have the extra small shell, we can start designing the new sole plates that will fit all different styles of skating. So yes, it is in the works. It is a great idea. You can physically do it now. I don't recommend it because it is a pretty high skill job using a bandsaw or using a jigsaw. Like, it is not the easiest thing to do, but if you have some DIY skills, you can probably make it work. I saw Becky Sotelo do it back when before she went on Echo, and she really liked that setup. So I've never skated it like that. I skate it base only with just wheels and no sole plate. But I do find that the V2 material is too flexy for that. So we need to make a stiffer boot and a new sole plate. A couple things that need to happen before we can really ship that as a product. But stay tuned. It'll happen. Brendan Fitzpatrick, real question, is Widger skating figure skating? I'd say yes, and I think that's rad. I would probably say it's figure skating. I also differentiate between wizard skating and what Joey and Todd do, and a lot of people do. The mushroom blading, whatever you want to call it, where they just skate really fast and just jump stuff and ride downstairs and like really take advantage of the big 100mm wheels that they've got. I absolutely love that style of skating. I am less inclined to do the figure skating style footwork. It's just not interesting to me. I want to skate fast. When I go out there, again, hockey background, I want to do, you know, relatively, I want to do big airs. I want to cruise down transitions. Like, I want to charge up the wheels and just coast around the skate park. If I'm skating slowly on one foot doing, you know, turns, that's just not my style. Nothing wrong with it. Everybody should be able to skate however they want. I also like to just skate up to a curb and session a ledge for hours. Like, you know, there's no wrong way to skate. But I would definitely put in more in a figure skating boat. And I would pull out what Joey and Todd do and put that into their own little bucket, because they're on a different, they do something different. I don't know what you would call it. Mushroom blading. Right. Same boat. I love the graphics you've been doing with Standard. Can you speak a bit about the artwork, the artist, and the inspiration? Sure. So our design is all done by Stefan Brando. Stefan's been part of the company since the beginning. Stefan's also a good friend who was a pro rider for Fitty Fitty, still is a pro rider for Fitty Fitty, and Chroma. He's worked with me for years. We see eye to eye on a lot of things. We have a lot of same sensibilities in design. He's definitely a artistic guy, and I love his work. For Brian's skate, I can't remember his last name. I don't know his last name, but his first name is Nicholas. Let me check real quick. N-I-C Stahl, Nicholas Stahl. Nick Stahl, he did the artwork for Brian's boot. You see some of the inspiration on the announcement post. It's a great style. It's not something that Stefan typically does. It's kind of almost like a tribal style. There's going to be a lot of that in his marketing as well. We highly encourage the skaters to find their own style, because each release should still have a Standard branding to it, and it should still be a distinctive Standard look, but it should be their style. So Yondi worked with his girlfriend who did his design and did his boot design, and he had a very specific style to it. He also worked with a photographer and his editor, Pablo, who had a very specific style, brought a very specific style to it. Brian's is going to be very different, and that is great. That is what Standard, you know, you should be an individual expression. Everybody's welcome at the new Standard. So yeah, Stefan does most of the art. Nick did most of the art for this, but we're all kind of artists in our own right, and we all kind of collaborate on a lot of the stuff. We have a lot of really good, talented friends. Follow-up to Toebox question. Jordan asks, Mesmer created a jig to open up their toe box when cooling from the mold. Oh, yeah, I guess we could figure something like that out. Again, yes, we could definitely do that. I don't know how much we could do with it, but we could definitely do that. If there were a specific size that people were complaining about, like the large, that we could eke out a couple millimeters in each direction, I think that would be valuable. I might actually take you up on that and look into doing that for V4 and see what we can do. Just as an experiment, again, if we can add a couple millimeters here and there after it comes out of the mold, that's possible. I don't see why that wouldn't be possible. Maybe expensive to make a jig, but definitely not as expensive as trying to modify or create new molds. Yeah, great suggestion. That is a good call. Lala 4Z, colorways, if there's any potential of a skate with a different cuff color from a boot. Example, the blue skates would look great with a matching stripe and cuff plus and frame look great. Different color cuff than the boot. Yes. Yes and no. So I prefer having a same color for the cuff and the boot. That is just the way that I like the skates. If the rider wanted a different color cuff and boot, then we would do a different color cuff and boot. You know, we've worked with our riders to get them the skates that they have always wanted. And if that means that they're going to have mismatching colors, you know, they'll still complement each other. They'll still maybe, you know, the cuff matches the sole plate, or the cuff matches the paint, and the boot matches the sole plate, you know. We would definitely accommodate them. We want to make sure first and foremost that the rider gets a skate that they're really proud of. Second, it has to look good and has to sell. You know, it's not enough to just make a skate that the rider likes. If it's not going to sell, then it's not worth making. You know, we can make samples all day, but to actually make a skate that people want to buy, it has to look good. So we kind of balance that line. But yes, I can definitely see a different cuff than a boot in the future. I don't have one in mind, but there's no reason that we wouldn't do it. Great question. I've never thought about it, but that is the honest to God fact. James, my second skin give me the toe box problem when it hits plastic. Yeah, second skins are very thin. I mean, that's probably the perfect name for a liner. Second skin is the thinnest liner that I know of. If you are looking to downsize, second skins are the way to go, but it is super thin, which means that you're going to feel everything. I am not a big downsizing fan. I would rather people get the size skates that they feel comfortable with, but I see people who like that, and second skin liners are a good option. The old V2 Intuitions were a really good option as well. I don't know what the current thin Intuition would be, but maybe some of the them Intuitions would be the best option, but I'm not sure which ones. But great point. C Money, I have the same issue with Intuition Premium. I just removed that rear support in the ankle, and it might just be enough space if that helps anyone. Yeah, I did as well. It still didn't help me. Again, it's just a weird liner. It's funny because it feels great on my foot, but as soon as I put it in a skate, it just doesn't fit right. So yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Go to fashion. Actually, I meant black shells in general for the current release. Oh, I'm sorry. Why didn't we have a black V3? Well, we have a bunch of V2s out there still in black, and I want to make sure that we give an opportunity for shops to sell through their product. Now we have 4 distinct colors. The V3 to V4, it is a big upgrade, but from a shell perspective, the upgrade isn't huge. Reduction of pressure points, a little bit of cleanup. That's really the big difference with the black. We will not be making black sole plates with this run. So if you wanted black sole plates, yes, you would need to get, you know, a new sole plate that was completely flat with the recessed bolts. But you could get a V2 black skate and put on a blue sole plate or a white sole plate or a light gray sole plate, and you would have a V3, V2 sort of black skate. But yes, black will always stay in the rotation. Unfortunately, we don't double up. So I try to, every release, do something different, especially if we still have skates out there. James, future pro skates going to come with color buckles. Depends on the pro. You know, Brian wanted a blue buckle, so we made a blue buckle. If he wanted a white buckle, we would make a white buckle. It really just depends on what the pro wants. We always try to accommodate, you know, what their vision is for the skate. Brandon Fitzpatrick, do you figure there will be a print-on-demand skates? No. I mean, I think that it's possible that someday there will be print-on-demand everything. I can't see it being more cost-effective, but again, anything is possible. If we get materials down, electricity down, and printers to a point where, you know, whatever they're doing, however the process is, that they can create something that has a flexible, rigid, balance, you know, strength material at a reasonable price. I mean, anything's possible in the future, right? Currently, the most cost-effective way is injection molding. It is a big upfront cost, but it is a very inexpensive relative per piece cost. trying to print something as intricate as a skate using PLA plus or something similar would probably cost as much as an injection molded part now. That's not a bad deal, but it won't have the structural integrity. So I can see it happening in the future. Again, I would love to live to a point where everything is print on demand, because I'm a big proponent of making your own stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll happen. It's going to be a while though. I think right now it's not quite at the thing. What's his name? I see him posting every now and then. Massimo, is that his name? On Facebook, I see him posting in the DIY groups a lot. Has his skate project, which is amazing. And they seem to be holding up pretty well. So maybe it's closer than I realize. I haven't tried them yet though. And then James, last question. The 901 with the same intuitions fit perfectly, but I don't like the way they feel grind. I'm just an old grinder blader. Yeah. Shells are weird, man. Feet are weird. Shells are weird. Liners are weird. Like getting that combination of those three, plus then you include the heel rise. It's hard to find that perfect combination for you. You will go mad trying to find your perfect fit. That's why I always recommend once you find it, don't sway. Like stick with what you got. Fit over everything. And that is, the honest truth. I love standard. I would love to sell you skates. But if they're just going to sit on the shelf, or if you're just going to skate them for 30 minutes and then taking them off because your feet hurt, that's not the point. Like, I'm not trying to make money. I'm trying to make skaters. So if you can find, a faction or a them or T-neck that works better for you, please go support. They are great companies, great brands, skater made. Highly recommend supporting them. Appreciate your support, of course, and trying to make it work. I appreciate that, but end of the day, you gotta find the skate that works best for you. All right, I think that is everything. Thank you all so much for showing up. It is a long one, 2:15, so a nice long show for everybody who is still with me. Pre-order started on Friday. If you had any questions, please send me a message, put it in the chat, or put it in the comments. I'd love to answer it. Thanks again for all the support. We're really, really excited about the V3 release. I think there's going to be more people out there than ever getting in on this pre-order. I think it's going to be a really big one. The colorways are great. I think we really nailed that, and I'm so proud of the revisions that we've made. I'm really proud of the frame. I'm happy to say that money that we are making from selling skates is going back into selling more skates and making better skates. It's an important cycle that we can continue to reinvest in the sport, sponsoring events, sponsoring our team to go around to different events and different spots to make edits so that they can share their love for blading. That is what we are here for. That's what we do. Again, appreciate your support. Without it, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Hope everything is good with you. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.